Another important information for those seeking asylum in Ireland. So, the Taoiseach, Simon Harris, have said that it is a matter of common sense to have those who are seeking asylum in Ireland pay up to 10 to 40% of the cost of their accommodation. Okay, and he said that although Ireland benefits from immigration, people coming into this country, working and contributing to the society. He said, even though Ireland benefit from that, and that the fact that people who were seeking asylum are not paying towards the cost of their accommodation is not a fair one. He said that because those who are seeking asylum and they are working, it doesn't exempt them from not paying for their costs just because they are international protection applicants, that they should be contributing to the cost of their accommodation. You will say that that is fair, but let's look at exactly how this is going to work, okay? So I'm just going to read out some of the details of how this cost is going to be allocated, how asylum seekers are going to be paying towards the cost of their accommodation that is already been proposed by the government of Ireland. So again, Simon Harris said that the government had been working on this proposal for a significant period of time. It seems really important to me, he said, from the social cohesion point of view, that they are making contribution in terms of their costs. He said, and in fact, it would rather be bizarre that they wouldn't. And he said he thinks that in terms of maintaining social cohesion, it is a common sense, practical measure that's simply about fairness. He said it's about fairness and all of that. So, but let's go and look at exactly what asylum seekers will be expected to pay, depending on what they are earning every week. Okay, so let's just go straight to look at what they are looking at for them to pay, and also to bear in mind that this is something that they are projecting that might start to happen next year. Next year, after all of these bills that are going to the government in terms of all of the reform that are going to happen in terms of immigration in Ireland. So let's look at the cost, what asylum seekers will be expected to pay if these come into effect from next year. In the memorandum from Minister for Justice Jim O'Callaghan and the Minister for State for Migration Brophy, a person with a weekly income up to 150 would have a potential contribution of €15. Okay, so let's just say that an asylum seeker is earning only 150 every week. They will contribute just €15 towards their accommodation. And whereas a person earning up to 340 a week will be obliged to contribute around €83. So if you're earning, you're an asylum seeker and you're earning €340 a week, you will be contributing €83 towards the cost of your accommodation. And a person who is earning up to €600 a week or more will contribute up to €238 per week. Okay, this is how this is going to work out. So it's not that it's going to just to be a blanket price or cost for everybody. It just depends on what that asylum seeker is earning. So it is expected that this new model, if improved by the minister, would be operational by next year. Like I said earlier, okay, this is what they're looking at. And let's just look at the figure at the moment that people who are seeking asylum in this country and what is expected by next year when this will come into effect. Okay, so the figure compiled by the Department of Justice last year suggests that around 7,600 people are in IPAS system, IPAS system at the moment, and they will be eligible to contribute to this charge. Okay. But you have to understand that the Minister for Justice is targeting to reduce the amount of people who are coming to seek asylum in Ireland. So this figure will not be the same by that next year. That is what will be anticipated anyway. So it is. I will just continue what was said in the news. However, it is anticipated that the number will likely fall once the EU migration and asylum path becomes operational next June. That's what I just said. So when the EU migration path with Ireland will become operational, where things will be done faster, where people will be returned faster as well, that will affect that figure. There won't be that much people seeking asylum for that kind of amount, for them to be generating that amount from those asylum seekers anymore. Anyway, let me just continue reading what's in the news as well. But now, two other measures being brought before the cabinet tomorrow, which is today, okay, because this news came out yesterday, and today, Wednesday. Remember, I said that today, which is Wednesday, the Minister for Justice is bringing forward his proposed bill, the one that will also concern family unification and all of that, and will also, don't forget that in that bill as well is a suggestion to increase the number of years that people who are seeking asylum, who get refugee status, will be able to stay in Ireland before they apply for full citizenship, that year is going to move from 3 years to 5 years. All of those bills are going to be looked at today in the Dáil in Ireland. And these will also be part of that bill. Okay, this recommendation is also part of that bill. So two other measures being brought before the cabinet, which is today, relate to tightening rules around family unification, increasing the residency requirement for citizenship from 3 years to 5 years. That's basically all that I was saying earlier. But there's some criticism of this whole policy that the government is bringing, and I just want to read one or two of the criticism that the government is getting from this. I remember saying in my last video that the Irish Refugee Council were saying that this is really alarming, and all of that, and they were talking about how this will impact the ability for migrants or asylum seekers to integrate into the Irish society. But there's another criticism of this policy, this government policy, from O'Callaghan, okay, from a Labour TD. Jed Nash accused Minister for Justice Jim O'Callaghan of visual signaling, he said, on immigration. He said that was visual signaling on immigration. He described this as visual signaling, adding that Jim O'Callaghan, who is the Minister for Justice in Ireland, is seeking to deter people from coming to this country to secure safety. That's the what he's saying. He also said that Mr. Nash also said that the minister is taking his lead from the UK, adding that the reform system in UK simply isn't working and it won't work. Okay, so what this TD is saying basically, which I agree with, is that even though the UK is already reforming their system, it hasn't been approved yet. So it's not something that is already in process for you to determine whether it will work or not. So taking this approach, even before you see the impact of what will happen with the reform that is happening in UK, is kind of, not a very good one, and I think that's what the TD is saying here. So, but we never know, like I said, until all of these things come into effect and we start to see whether this will impact the whole immigration policy, whether it will be positive or negative. It will be the outcome that those who have been protesting against immigration are looking for or not. So thank you so much for listening. And this again is just for an information purpose. So come back here next time so that I can give you more update about all of these changes that are coming into effect in Ireland. Like this video, share so others can also hear about it, and have a good day.